Okay, so now what you should have is your GitHub repo set up and in GitHub. So you should have a GitHub repo that has your GitHub username and intro to web dev here. And you can use this kind of as is in GitHub. So you can go in and edit these files directly in GitHub. So you can go into index.html and you can click this little pencil icon and edit it that way. But I don't recommend that. It gets pretty annoying, honestly, and it's kind of hard to make a change, and then you have to wait a long time for GitHub pages to update, and it's kind of annoying to switch between files, and it's just kind of a frustrating experience. So instead of editing the files directly in GitHub, what I'm going to recommend is that you download the files to your own computer and then work with them locally and test locally, and then when you're ready to publish your changes to the worldwide internet, then you'll push those changes to GitHub. So this video is going to walk through that process. So first, make sure that you have GitHub Desktop installed. There are a few ways to work with GitHub, but I'm going to go with GitHub Desktop for this class, and it's a program that you can install on your computer. Can be a laptop, doesn't have to be a desktop, and it'll help you work with GitHub, through a UI and stuff. So download and install this, and then come back, I guess. But I've already done this step, so I'm going to kind of skip it. So I already have GitHub Desktop installed. It's down here somewhere, yeah. Okay, I have GitHub Desktop installed, and now from your repo, and to just double check that you're in your repo, make sure that it's your username up here. Specifically, this should not say Kevin Workman up here. It should say maybe forked from Kevin Workman, intro to web dev, but your GitHub username should be here. And that's kind of important because otherwise you'll be pushing the changes back to the original repo, which is not what you want to do. You want to push the changes to your copy of the repo. So anyway, make sure you're on a GitHub repo page that has your username on it. And then what we're going to do is go to this code button, click that, and then click Open with GitHub Desktop. And that launches GitHub Desktop with kind of honestly a scary looking dialog, but what it's saying is I'm going to copy this repo, this GitHub repo, onto my local computer. And you can choose whatever local path you want. I tend to put mine in my documents directory, but you can put it anywhere. You can put it on your desktop or wherever you put most of your files. But kind of make sure that you remember this path because you're going to need it in a second. And then hit clone. And that'll take just a second or so, and then it'll show you this dialog. And I honestly don't think that it actually matters for our purposes, but just for the sake of choosing the right thing, click this second one for my own purposes. So that means that you'll be working with your directory and not the original directory, which you originally cloned from my files. So click for my own purposes and then click continue. So this is GitHub Desktop, and right now it's not super interesting because we haven't made any changes yet, but it's just kind of telling you the state of the local version of your repo, the local copy of your repo. So next what we want to do is open up the local files that you just downloaded, and there are a couple ways to do this. I think I'll maybe just show both. So one is to open up your file explorer. It's going to be maybe different on a Mac or on Linux, but hopefully you're familiar with that. And if not, let me know. We can talk through it. But I just happen to know that I store mine in documents, and then I have a GitHub directory, and then I have intro to web dev, which is where I cloned the repo into back on that previous screen. So I can go here just from navigating sort of from the top level of my file structure. The other way to do it is from GitHub Desktop itself. You can go, I think, to repository and then show in Explorer. I'm not sure what this says in Mac. Let me know, I guess. But if you click Show in Explorer, it'll bring it directly up. So kind of two ways to get to the same files. And this is where you'll be doing most of the work for the class. So each week has a different project, and you can peruse these and look through it. But we'll get to it as the weeks progress. But for now, what I'm going to do just to test that everything's working is I'm going to edit this index.html file that is in this top level here. You can use whatever editor that you want. You can use Notepad, or I think it's called Text, or maybe Edit or something on Mac. I use something called Atom. It's completely up to you, but I'm going to open it with Atom. And that'll give me this kind of this view of the raw code. And we're going to get into, you know, all of this, what HTML is, what all of this means, all of that good stuff. But what I want to do is just make one little change. And so maybe I'll add like an exclamation point here, intro to web development, exclamation point. And I saved that, hitting Control S, or you can go to File, Save. And then I'm going to go back to my directories. So I edited this file, and what I want to do is kind of just test that change out. I could upload this to GitHub Desktop, or through GitHub Desktop to GitHub, and let GitHub Pages do its thing and automatically deploy, but that takes kind of a long time. You're welcome to try it, but I guarantee that you'll start getting impatient if you try to work that way for too long. So what I'm going to do is just open it up on my local computer. So again, a few ways to do that. You can probably just double click it, and that will open up your browser to see how it says like file up here, and then it's like a local path, which is on my computer. And importantly, you see that exclamation point change is there. If double clicking doesn't work, another way to do it is by sort of right clicking it, and then you can go to like open with, and then down here you can choose whatever browser you want. I'm generally going to use Chrome probably, but it does the same exact thing where you have this view of your file. Yet another way to do it is on my laptop, it's Control O, and then you can navigate to the file that way through this dialog here. So I go to GitHub, I go to Intro to Web Dev, and I find index here. So 3 different ways to do the same thing. I generally just double click it though. But you see that the change is here, and I have confirmed that my change works how I expect locally. And now what I can do is push it up to GitHub to have the change reflected live. So before I do that, maybe I should point out that like if I go back to my GitHub Pages site, which is where it's here, so github.io, this is the kind of the live version. This is what's in GitHub right now. You'll see that there's no exclamation point, and it's just the old version. So compare the local version to the live version. So what I want to do is push my changes from my local computer to the live deployed site. And the way we do that is through GitHub Desktop. So let me go back to GitHub Desktop. And now you'll see this is a little more interesting. You see that the index.html file is over here in this list. And you see on the right, here's the change that's highlighted. As you get into more complex code, there will be more files on the left, and the changes will be a little bit more involved on the right. But the idea is the same. You can see your changes here, and you can confirm that this is indeed what you expected, and then write a little message here, maybe like added exclamation point. Sure, it doesn't really matter, but I generally make it something that kind of reminds me of what I was working on, because this stuff shows up in GitHub as the sort of history of the repo. Anyway, when you have your commit message typed out, click commit to main. And then kind of importantly, make sure that you push this button, push origin. Nothing actually happens until you click that button or this button. They both do the same thing. So I'm going to click push origin, and it's going to take a second, and it's going to refresh. Cool. And then what I can do is go to GitHub itself. So I'm back in my repo in GitHub, and what I should see is my change, and I'll see it in a couple different places. So first off, here's the commit message that I was talking about earlier that I typed out. So this is kind of a reminder of the last change that I made in that file. And if I go into the file itself, then we do indeed see the exclamation point. And the last thing I want to point out is, because we are using GitHub Pages, the sort of magic of it is that automatically this content, this HTML content, will be deployed to our web page over here. Wait, no, that's the local file over here. This is the live URL. So what I'm hoping is that when I click refresh, you'll see the exclamation point. And I don't. Maybe I'll try one more time. And okay, this is actually why I recommend deploying locally first or testing locally first, because this just takes a minute and it's kind of flaky. Sometimes it takes a little longer, sometimes it's really fast, and it's just kind of unreliable. I don't know, while I'm here, what I'll do is maybe I'll point out that you can actually track this. So like if you look down here, environments, you can see in progress, and you can actually click into here. So now it's done actually. So now if I go back to my live URL and I refresh, there's my exclamation point. So again, it just kind of takes a minute. So if it doesn't show up right away, that's okay. Wait a couple minutes, maybe check the thing over here on the right here in environments. But anyway, the whole idea is that you have cloned your repo using GitHub Desktop, and you're going to make changes locally on your local computer, test them out locally in your browser using that like file, viewing the local file. And then when you're satisfied with how it works locally, then you'll push to your repo to automatically deploy to GitHub Pages and get this URL that you can share with other people or share with me and stuff. And that's the flow that you'll use for the rest of this course as well. So it's a good thing to practice. So again, if you want to run through that again, you can always make other changes to the repo, add emojis or something, whatever you feel like doing, just to get some more practice. But if you have something deployed to GitHub Pages and you're able to change it locally and then push to GitHub, then you are good to go and we can keep going.